on that being said, we are dealing, and remind me too, we might have said exactly what ages, but if we're talking, what did we say, 9, 10, 11?
Yeah, I'd say all elementary.
Yeah. Keep in mind they adapt like
crazy.
They adapt crazy. So even just, getting them week 1 to week 6, and I've seen it with, like I said, helping with my daughter's team. They can catch on really quick, and they're limber enough that as long as you get them understanding why they're doing a movement, they'll catch on really quick. So them coming back after 6 weeks, and there may be new kids too, so we may be redoing a lot of that over and over again. And so they're just getting that in their system. For some, it may be just a review, and so they'll adapt again right away.
Would we need to have like 2 quote unquote sessions side by side that way? Like that very first week, everybody obviously is in the first session and getting trained or whatever, but our second session should be returners and intermediate, and then have a beginner group as well. Like for the kids that this is their first time they're coming, or they've been gone for more than 2 sessions before they've come back.
I think it depends on how we want to establish levels. Like, do we want to just keep them with their grade level, keep them with their age? Maybe we keep them with development. That's something this is, all things we have to talk about up along the way, because if they if maybe we have a checklist of things that they have to accomplish before they move up to the next level, we got to come up with those 5 things, whatever that may be, then they can move up. So there may be a review, but then then we can group them into separate categories that way. So that obviously the first group, it's going to be, everybody's going to be the same. Outside of more mature kids are going to be better at it, and they're going to move along quicker. After that, we could probably start putting them into, you're in this category, you're in this category. Now, we want to be careful not to get too many categories, because you're just going to be a million different places after that. Yeah. So keep it simple, as I would say, right?
Well, I think there's value in, if you keep it simple, that's when you're going to see the most growth over a period of time. If we're repeating these basics, and if we sell it the right way as coaches, I don't think kids will have any problem repeating this thing, especially if they're seeing progress and they're getting better, and we can explain why this translates to whatever their sport is. That allows you, to me, there should be a foundational fundamentals thing that is primary focus, whether it's in sprints, in whatever it might be, that you're just building this foundation, but that's something that we can show some measurement on.
Well, Coach H, you and I saw it firsthand with the soccer kids, the softball kids, when we were doing that sprint station. Just doing the little things over and over again, you saw massive amounts of improvement in terms of turnover and all that stuff. So I agree with that in terms of, if you keep it simple, we're going to see some improvement with the kids. Not some, with the little kids, a lot of improvement.
There's also going to be some stuff, and it's part of what eventually want to implement more into an actual curriculum. But there was I know the guy, Gary Schofield, he's in Georgia right now, but he's done curriculum development all through, he even starts in elementary. So, and I saw some of it because I was at a conference with him there, and he showed me some things on how he just gets a basic game of whatever, or rolling a ball out and making them pick it up. And it showed what different exercises. I can't really show you over a Zoom, but here's your basic. They got themselves into a natural lunge position without even thinking about it, or laterally or something like that. So there's things that we can implement into that, where we maybe have quote games because they're young kids, where we can use that to help out as well, where they're not even realizing they're doing stuff, but they're just playing some game, or they're having some between 2 kids rolling a ball to each other or something.
How many days a week would it take to see growth and improvement?
I think when
Is 1 day a week enough? I don't know. You guys are the experts. Is 2 days a week?
I think
I
at
think-
that age, I think at that age, 2 days a week is sufficient. I wouldn't. I mean, 3 max, absolute max. So, but just my viewpoint. I think 2 days a week with elementary age kids.
Is this going to go up to, let's say, 6th grade? And the only reason why I say 6th grade is because, and I don't know what time we're talking about running this or whatever, but if we go 7th and 8th grade, are we going to compete with our middle school age kids in sports at the middle schools?
I would.
Or is this going to be later than that?
Like later in the day?
Later
I
in the
would-
day, like
I would
are we going
probably
to go
say-
like a 7:00 at night, like 7 to 8, or
I
that
think it
type
would
of
have
deal?
to be. I think it would have to be with all the other things going on at the school.
Because even 4th, 5th, 6th graders, they got basketball practice.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's at 5 o'clock or something. And
Yeah, it could be, those are even at 7. I've got Riley's been going at 7 at night too.
Mhm.
So we're not going to hit everybody. And
Nope.
again, I think they have to probably narrow it down to exactly what age levels we want there, as far to and be able to divide up from there. I don't know how young we're talking. The way making it sound like maybe 3rd and 4th, 5th, or 4th, 5th, 6th. You could do stuff with really young ones, but I think at some point there's going to be their minds don't stick with us that long. I don't think.
Right, they just go play. Another question I had was, like you brought up, Coach, and I had my oldest 11 years old playing basketball and softball at the same time, this past winter, and we had basketball practice Monday, softball Tuesday, basketball Wednesday, softball Thursday. Like, so to be able to do this and to reach those kids, and so that's what I'm saying is that's a competing factor. And how are we going to necessarily account for kids who are multi-sport athletes, that they're doing more than one thing or whatever, and the youth sports kids are it's just nuts. I mean,
maybe we catch a kid like her not during that season. Is she like that 12 months out of the year, or does she have a break? Does she have an off season? If so, I think that's maybe when you encourage her to do that.
Target those guys to go do general stuff. Yeah, her off season right now is probably the fall, I guess. It's heaviest in the winter, and it only goes softball only in April till the end of
Because
June.
practicality and not being an expert like a lot of you guys, I'm just thinking a 6th grade junior Titan football kid. Not only do we don't need him doing that stuff at after practice, and I don't know if he'll get much out of it. I think he'll get a lot more out of it if he would be doing it either in the summer or spring or winter or something like that.
This might be the best way to thin the herd anyway, is that, and I don't see every kid being able to make every 6 weeks.
No.
So the idea is to give them a 6-week period during this time of year, or a 6-week period during this time of year. Not something where they have to be at every single period. That here's 6 weeks. If you got it open, this is what we're going to do over the 6 weeks while you don't. And that leads to, you asked about, is 2 good enough or 3 good enough a week? With everything else they got going on with parents, the ones having to get them there, 2 days a week is plenty. One, depending on their age, 1 can be good too, but I think 2 is going to be ideal.
I would add, we want to be careful to not contribute to the problem of kids getting burned out. And I mean, that's kind of the whole point. So, I mean, I think it would be really important for us in the selling of this, in the advertising of this. If your kid's already involved in 2 activities right now, athletic wise, this is not for them. I mean, those kids need to have a break. I think we push this as an off-season thing.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say.
So like that's your best time to get your kids involved, because they still need to be kids. And otherwise, I think we just contribute to problems that we're already facing.
Mm-hmm.
So per session, how much time would be necessary? And then again, and we sort of, somebody brought it up a little bit, you know, do you have a third grader standing next to a sixth grader or a seventh grader or whatever, and doing the same drills and stuff like that? Or do you have two different sessions? Do you have, I don't know. I think, I don't know. I mean, it could be individualized enough to where they could be in the same line or something, and it's not that big a deal.
Well, I think like with my track girl, I mean, there's value for my freshmen seeing Nina Cuevas do what she does. Like when I'm saying, hey, let's do this drill, we're doing this movement pattern. There's value for them to see that being done. So I mean, if we're talking like 3rd to 6th, I think it'd be, my opinion personally, it'd be okay. But I could be convinced otherwise. But I there is value in seeing, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. So then they can kind of start processing, this is how this movement pattern is supposed to go. And so little monkey see, monkey do action is never a bad thing.
Yeah, it's something we practice. Like we'll have our 16s or 18s go practice with our 10s.
Yeah.
And I mean, we obviously adapt stuff or whatever, so nobody's in a dangerous situation, but
Correct.
they get to watch the older kids do it, or then the older kids turn around and teach it. And
I think two things to think about is we could use that as an opportunity to teach some natural leadership things for the older kids. Like, hey, you got young kids watching you here and working around you. Then also make sure that whoever's there, the coaches, that we're really, obviously we're coaching up everybody, but still coaching the crap out of those older kids. I guess just as a parent or somebody just watching from the side, they might quickly think like, God, is my 6th grader getting anything out of this? He's in there with a bunch of 3rd and 4th graders type of thing. But if he's getting a lot of coaching and a lot of attention, then that's fine.
To me, I think you craft it so that there is a good amount of time together, because I agree with Jared's thought, and that it's good to have those people modeling what it should look like. But there can also be a time segment where it's, now we split based on ability, and and maybe you take 15 or 20 minutes and those kids are doing a little bit more advanced drill, while some of those kids, those younger ones, you just got to go back and repeat the fundamentals again. So if you're that parent sitting off to the side, you can kind of see a little bit of, oh, they pulled them away and now they're doing this stuff, and I'm seeing that progress. And you're not talking about doing it for the whole time. We're just talking about 20 minutes or so.
How long do you guys think a session should be? If we're trying to keep the attention of a 3rd grader with technique work and drill work and stuff, what do you guys think what appropriate amount of time would be for a session?
If done well, I think 60 to 75 minutes. If programmed well. I mean, build in some, kind of like what Coach Pullman was talking about, roll the ball out there. They're getting themselves into natural positions without even thinking about it. So incorporate some game type structures, type systems in there. So I think if programmed well, 60 to 75 minutes.
Yeah.
There's got to be a game at some point. Kids got to compete at some point every time, where there's
absolutely
10 to 15 minutes, where whether it's playing Powerball from the American Gladiators or something, where kids are moving and but I mean, they'd have a blast, they'd have fun, but at the same time, there's a workout, there's a coordination of skills that's being, utilized in those scenarios that I think would be,
Yep.
I think I kind of lean towards like an hour, but if you plan like 75 minutes, you take 5-10 minutes at the end of it, and you start to invest in the mental side of even young kids, just simple little things, kind of pulling our two conversations together. I mean, there's simple little things you could even do with with youngsters that you could take 5-10 minutes. And that's, if you're a parent sitting off to the side watching that, that's added value. So.
I was going to throw in, don't overlook the power of a break, and obviously that breaks things up, 5 minutes. And I've really evolved on that stuff, but especially when doing camps for the young kids, a good old fashioned 5-minute water break and relax and stuff, that's good for everybody. And it breaks up the time and breaks up monotony. But that might be an idea to infuse those mental things, leadership things, around those breaks, woven in between, at the end, there's some merit there too, but I also know weaving them in through the middle, sometimes that hits and kids aren't putting their shoes on and trying to think about dinner and going out the door.
Yep.
I think I lean on the side of short with these sessions, try to keep it close to an hour as possible. Just the busyness of kids. And I think it just, like Coach Johansson said, if it's programmed really, really well, we can get a lot of bang for their buck in a short period of time. And I think that's what makes it harder if you're asking a family to plan 90 minutes, when you throw a drive time in there, we're talking 2 hours potentially out of their evening. I think keep it short and that increases your likelihood of getting some of these kids involved, especially in their off season, if that's kind of what our focus is.
I think you may be surprised too how much you can get in. Even first of all, at that age, they swear they never get tired, so they're just ready to do the next rep, and having people come in here where you think I can't get somebody through in a half hour, and I'm getting it done no problem. Or getting through in an hour, and 45 minutes, we're actually looking for things to do. So it just depends on the day and what you're doing. But I would say hour is going to be plenty. Be right at it.
I think even our stations from this past winter down at the landing showed that we can get a lot in a short period of time and get some quality work done when it's well thought out, well planned, and you have coaches on top of things and ready to go. So, yep.
Keeps kids engaged and coming back. So,
absolutely. Like part of the conversation that has to be in with all this is obviously like the summer and the spring can look a lot different when you can get outside and you have a lot more space, but just thinking about what the winter looks like, which is probably going to be your lower, I don't know, maybe your lower attended sessions in the winter, just in terms of all the activities that are going on. If kids are doing multiple things in the winter, more than likely with what we've got going on, but just knowing that we're going to be limited. It's hard for me to wrap around how much room is going to be in that Titan Performance Center until I actually stand in there and see it. And you put some bodies in there. So, that's something to think about too when we are talking about training groups and so on, is we're going to have limitations of space that we have to fit within.
Coach Pullman, and some of you guys are parents of kids who are at this age. As a parent, do you see a need for this, an opening for this on the business side and as a community side?
I could technically say that. There's kids that are already going out to these facilities at this age already, that if we get it to them cheaper than what they're doing out there, and they're already into our system, that I think they would do it. Yes, is it something else that another night they got to be gone? Yeah, that's true. That's again why 6 weeks and you can take a break for a while. Keeps them from getting overloaded with too many things. And I would probably tell them that, that we're looking for those that maybe aren't in season right now. So we're not trying to put too much on their plate, like Coach said. Coach Horton, you might have more on that too, having kids as well.
Well, I was sitting there thinking, like, I mean, not only the younger kids or whatever in the off season piece of it, but try to tack it into everybody's junior Titan programs. And so then our coaches here are hitting our youth kids in their off season. Unfortunately, you know, like you said, we're going to miss some. We've got some kids that are doubled up and tripled up, and you know, we got kids doing volleyball and basketball at the same time, or basketball and softball at the same time, or whatever. And so I don't know when those kids' off seasons are. Like I said, my daughter's off season specifically right now is in the fall, but that's because she doesn't do volleyball and she doesn't do soccer. And so soccer kids, do they ever get time off? I'm starting like at 3 years old. Like they go January to January, don't they? So I don't know. I mean, I think you throw it out there and use our contacts there, their junior Titans, to get it started and kind of go from there. And it's going to be a good thing. Is there a market for it? Yeah, there absolutely is. So you're watching it happen. Should there be a market for it? I don't know.
I think, sorry, I've been kind of in and out, but for me personally and for people around here, like, I think that like our kids are going to be involved in club sports or whatever, but if we have a location that is close by our house, that they're just the proximity of having it be at this high school that they can invest in, that they can be a part of at an earlier age, to me is like, I would prefer my kids to be there, getting their workouts done, you know, getting to know the coaches, getting to be invested in Titans. Then, I mean, for sheer like convenience for me, and then for them to just be invested in our school as a parent. That's, I mean, I'm looking at it as an outside parent too. I would love that.
And you see people who have elementary age kids typically have 2 or 3 kids around that same age. So you could take all 3 of your kids there at one time.
Yep.
All 3 of them could be training for an hour. And, you know, it's not one practice. It's not one kid going to volleyball, one going to basketball, and one going to soccer. It's almost a family deal. Yeah.
And I mean, some of these places that they're going are far away, like going to OSA, going to, you know, the courts on 144th. I mean, if everything's here for them, that's just one more added plus that would make a huge deal in that decision making for a family.
I think when I think about it in my mindset as a parent, I think about my wife. Our kids are obviously past that age, but you know, if I had to tell my wife, hey, we're going to take our kids and we're going to take them to this gym that's run by this 30, 40-year-old guy that doesn't really work with kids, or we're going to take them here and they're working with like high school coaches, I think my wife would feel way more comfortable sending them to a group of people that are educators.
Well, and that they'll eventually
especially
be
at a younger age. Yeah.
They're developing this relationship that's not just a year long or you know, they're developing relationships with the people that they're hopefully going to play for someday.
And that goes directly back to what Coach started with. Now we keep those kids. Now they don't have a propensity, you know, to head elsewhere. And so we're winners all the way around. I think that's cool.
Well, and I think it brings the hometown feel of Papillion to us a little bit more, just because they are easily pulled to other areas. But if we are creating that kind of culture where our kids are staying here, where they're investing in us, and we're building them up at a very young age, that's something that small towns do. That's something that small communities do, and I like that. Like, I want our kids to be invested young. So I would be all for it as a parent.
I have a question just for those of you that are involved in, this might be more Coach Horton and Coach Wright and or even Coach Clemenger on the junior Titan football side, but I'm just curious with all that's going on with this COVID stuff. I mean, like youth sports are obviously going to be impacted, and I can't see it changing anytime quickly. So when you talk about a market for this, again, I think it might be the right time for something like this because of how soon are we getting back to youth sports activities up and going, in place, in person, tournaments, all the busyness. I mean, you might have more parents who are looking for something to get their kids involved in, and it's a lot easier to do it when you know they're in your community, as opposed to we're traveling all over Nebraska, doing different things. So I'm just curious if you guys have any thought with that.
The staying local thing is going to be big. I mean, we're projected right now for club to start June 1st, and see what that looks like. But a lot of teams and parents are expressing they don't want to travel out of town. They don't want to stay in hotels. They don't want to, it's a little bit further than just going, out to Gretna or whatever. But I got to see that. I tell you what I really like about this is something Clem talked about last week or week before, whatever it was, about his Star Wars kids. And the fact that I think you really pick up a lot of those kids by doing something like this because, back in the day and in small towns, those kids had that opportunity in a smaller program to develop.
Yep.
And nowadays, my wife and I, we talk about it all the time. And the fact that if a kid's not playing club, and typically a high level of club, the chances of them starting at a Class A high school is very small.
Yep.
I mean, they just have to be athletic as all get out.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to give them this opportunity, to give them an opportunity to develop, give them an opportunity to train a little bit, and we can push them and help them go which way we want them to get them experience or whatever. But it's a great opportunity to get kids general athletic ability, so.
Yep. Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah. He took my thought, Coach Horton. Can't forget. I mean, we can't just be focused on the junior Titan kids. Like, look for the Star Wars kids who are sitting on the couch and sell it to those parents as well that, hey, get them moving, happy, healthy, having some fun outside of the house isn't a terrible thing. And I just kind of digressing here, but, Coach H knows this. Coach G knows this from coaching with basketball. I would, like me personally, there's a huge need for this just because kids they can't move. They cannot move. It is unbelievable, the lack of mobility, coordination. Even my top sprinters can't move. They don't know. They can't do it. So to me personally, and I'm not going to win this argument with parents these days, but I would rather have a kid do this than as a third grader than be in a junior Titan sport, unless the sport is bringing this stuff into their training, into their practices. But, I don't know enough about all the junior Titan programs. So yeah, I think there's a huge need. I'll never win this argument, but I'd rather have a kid doing this than being in a sport-specific program. But again, I'll digress.
Well, and not to mention just the affordability of it comparatively to, whatever else that is out there. I mean, Coach Horton, you were speaking to it basically, is that so many parents can't afford a club sport to the level that it, my kid is pretty athletic, but I don't have $3,000 to put towards, whatever that is, but I want them to excel and I want to give them a chance. Here's an open door to do that and keep them in-house. And I think that's huge. At this point in the world, there's just such a discrepancy between the cost of club sports and these kids never get into play because they can't afford to.
Yep.
Well, I think when you look at that price point, if you just go off of Coach Johansson's price point from earlier on, $50 for a 6-week session, that's cheaper than playing a YMCA sport.
That's
you're probably getting more value for it.
Especially if you get 2 a week, you're talking 12 sessions for $50 or $60 or whatever.
I mean, right now we're charging $50 for a 4-day camp. You get 6 weeks. Yeah, it's a good deal.
Well, that was my first thought. If we want to bump it up, I don't know. I don't know. That was just what came to mind. I wanted, something that's fair, something that's like, 12 sessions, $50. That's less than $5 a session.
Build your base first.
Build your base first. Yep.
Well, and I think there's value in I'd rather err on the side of cheaper because that to me limits your, and you always have to think of this from a dollar standpoint, I think, because it is wise for us to think about how can we benefit from this monetarily, but we're going to benefit way more having 100 kids pay $50 than we are going to have, 50 kids pay $75. So when you hit more people's price point, I think that's a good thing.
Well, and honestly, program wise, we're going to make more money because we're going to have access to the kids, and they're going to come to camp. Like each individual program will make the money. I don't know.
Oh, and I was gonna say something like you could do one of those. You know how there's always like incentives, and you could say, you sign up for that 6-week session, it's $50, or otherwise it's $10 every time you come, or it's something like that where you can separate those and you can put them in a plan, and then like we were talking about last time, you got those punch cards that you can easily use for that, to kind of track that in an easy way, without a doubt, and I was thinking about, I had mentioned my Junior Titan Wrestling Club, and thinking about the 100 or so kids that were in that club last year, and I know that, and of course many that were older, but I know of quite a few of those kids that were going to other clubs on top of ours later that night to get in another practice session. And that was including wrestling and doing some kind of cardio or conditioning or otherwise. It's just nuts. But I mean, just numbers alone, there were, like I said before, there were 140 kids in that club last year. And again, we're talking K through 8, but still those are kids in the area that, are just in that one sport. So I think the need is tremendous. And again, offering the value that Coach H is talking about and having that, you can't beat it. You can't beat it.
I kind of touching on that. So I watched a webinar today with some college coaches from Tennessee and everything. And one of the things that came across is we've talked about educating parents and keeping our parents involved in our programs and so on and so forth, and building this. And we really got to look at it as, an extension of or our own program. But it would be educating parents. I honest to goodness, and I guarantee I've talked to parents before on different situations, on one-on-one situations. But if you got a wrestling kid going to an hour and a half practice, turn around going to another hour and a half practice, I got to pull that dad and be like, "Do what the hell?" Like, or I'm gonna ask, "Hey, what are you not getting here that you think you need to be getting? That your kid's wrestling for three freaking hours?" I don't know, but then we sell that in this the academy piece of it is, hey, you're getting here and this is what you're getting. This is your benefit. You don't need to overtrain. You don't need to be constantly going. You need to get better at it and then, recover.
Well, I think the selling point of the whole thing is we're developing athletes. We're not developing a football player. We're not developing a wrestler. We're not developing a basketball kid. Your kid's in 4th grade. They don't know what they're going to do right now. We're developing an athleticism. We're developing this foundational base that is going to benefit them no matter what road they choose. And, you look at recruiting things right now, and how many times do you hear they're a great athlete? I mean, you just constantly hear that. They're a great athlete. They don't always say they're a great football player because, college coaches think they can improve that side of their skill. So, if they've been maxed out skill-wise, there's a ceiling that we just can't improve. But you're not going to max out athletic wise, and I think that's got to be your selling point. So, and even as you were talking about parents is, maybe a side part of this is, you know, the last 20 minutes of the session, when a parent's coming back to pick their kid up, you offer like a little supplemental parent class about, I don't know what it might be, right? But there's a way that we can invest in parents at an earlier age as well, that might help all of us, you know, by the time they get to the high school. So, and that'd be another piece that you could build off of this. So, and that'd be free for them. We wouldn't have to charge parents to come to class. So
Maybe we could ask some of our high school kids to help out with it and kind of rotate based on sport per session. And so all the athletes and all the sports are kind of helping the kids. And, you know, maybe we even throw those high school kids a little bit of the money instead of coaches and pay them and give them a little part-time job and kind of keep them invested with it too. I don't know.
I like that idea as well. I think if we were going to do something like that, I would want to require a kid, you're going to commit to so many sessions. There's going to be a training piece, because if we talk about, we want parents coming in and seeing their kids getting coached up, and we want to develop kids in the right way, you know, which for any kid that has any interest in being a coach down the road, it would be a great way to get some simple education. You know, we'll pay you to come in and get trained, but we're going to teach you what we're looking for, what we expect you to look for, how we expect you to interact with these kids. And I don't think there's anything wrong with holding high school kids accountable to that level. I mean, just like they would at any other job. So, and for our kids that are busy in sports, it might be a nice way. In my off season, I know I can jump in for 6 weeks, you know, and make a little bit of money. And then when I head into my next season, I got to jump out, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Let them experience a little bit of what we deal with sometimes when you get frustrated with kids who won't listen or aren't focused or whatnot. So it might open their eyes a little bit, and a little change of perspective can be good for everybody. Does everybody like Coach Johansson's idea on 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off, kind of throughout the year?
So you'd roughly get four sessions through the school year, five sessions through the school year.
Yeah, 4 through the school year. I don't know if you would do something in the summer or not, but yeah, my thought was 5 sessions throughout the whole calendar year.
You're probably going to take Christmas, probably going to be off through like Thanksgiving to New Year's potentially.
Correct.
You may not have a session during that time.
Nope. Yeah, build your breaks around the natural breaks. 4th of July would be another one. But yeah.
Well, when you're asking people, I don't think 6 weeks is a lot of time from a commitment standpoint for a person to know that I signed up for these 6 weeks, and you know, if it works our next, we do it again. If not, no big deal. But
yep.
If you had 5 sessions during the course of the year and at $50, you came to every single one, you're talking about $250
yep.
for a year for
60 sessions.
60 sessions. It's
wow.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Sign me up.
I'd want to add in, how do you find some way to incentivize some improvement for kids, recognize, reward improvement, so you just don't have kids coming in, you know, like whatever test you have, say you're measuring a 10-meter dash and a vertical jump, like you improve by, I don't know, you pick some number, 10% or whatever, and you just earn some little thing. You meet some standards, you can earn a T-shirt. And I just think if you can get things that kids earn and then wear, it almost becomes like advertising for your program. You know, like they wear that shirt. Oh, where'd you get that? Oh, I go to these sessions up at the high school and I had to hit these standards, but man, I'm super proud of it. And the kid, oh, I want one of those shirts. Well, you got to come. And, you know, I just think, you know, there'd be some things to build in with that piece that would be important as well.
Yeah. Well, Coach, you know, it's Hazel Horse, you know, like the wristbands, the speed bands. We've seen those. T-shirts, obviously. For high school, I don't know if this would apply to young kids, but I've seen some programs do like like they do custom bag tags that say like, well, for track they do like the 20-mile-an-hour club. So every time they hit a new standard, they keep collecting tags and they just put it on their spike bags. So something, I don't know, something along those lines would be something I could see kids taking
Well, the
pride in.
elementary kids still have backpacks.
Yeah.
My kids are long past that age. I don't know. I don't pay attention to the one across the street. So
Even social media recognition gets people going. So if we had a specific, I don't know, Twitter account or something for this academy, might work to get it rolling as well.
Yep.
that's a very good idea.
Coach H, I've got to hop off here in a couple minutes. So just let me know what you need from me.
Yep.
I'm invested all in, so whatever you need, let me know. Last
Well-
thought I had, Coach Pullman, I don't know if this would be a good opportunity also to break out like the PVC pipe
Oh yeah.
and do like, you know, the foundational movements for like deadlift and
Yes.
all that stuff. So absolutely, you know, that was in my mind as well for what we're doing during these sessions. So
Yeah, I think that goes with, you know, our hip hinge, our
Yep.
stuff that we've talked about with checklists that they could hit, whether it be
Yep.
singly or bilateral. We just got to hit those. So yeah, that'd be a good time to do it.
So
Well, that's so nice with young kids. I don't think from an equipment standpoint, when you're talking about PVC pipe and you do mini hurdle stuff, and I mean, all of this stuff would be relatively
Yep.
inexpensive and over time you get enough kids involved. You know, we could build a fund that when things need to be replaced in the weight room, you've got something to dip out of and
Yep.
and replace things. So
Doing stuff like that in the academy would be a good connection for parents and for kids, because people are like, wait a minute, they're teaching weight training type of things. Well, the connection is, yeah, that stuff makes you faster. You know, it makes you more explosive. It makes you jump higher, and they go hand in hand.
well, and just taking the time to teach kids how to run. I mean, every parent watches their kid run around. So you take young kids who their parent watches them run around, and they went to this session in 6 weeks. When I watch them running around now, like they look a little bit more athletic. I mean, to me, you're going to see those easy gains because you focus on it, and you don't have to be an expert in running to know what fast looks like.
Yep.
You know, when my kid's running and his arms are all over the place and I don't know how to change that. Well, I went there and now they come and they look like they kind of look like that guy I've watched on the Olympics. How about that? Maybe something's working here.
Yep.
So when you talk about things like, I don't think it takes long to see improvements in those areas,
no.
which is a good selling point.
Yep.
So
All right, I gotta hop off, gentlemen.
see you, Coach.
Yep.
So any other thoughts anybody's got off the top of their head as you've been processing all this?
Yeah, I think one big, not to be a downer, or put your creative thinking caps on when it comes to the money, where it goes, what account, you know, I wonder how people pay. I like your punch card idea, but if a parent comes in with money and then it goes into a money box, and where does that go? Does it, and all that stuff, and then how do people get paid? I understand the part about paying kids and stuff. Then how does that look? So again, I'm not negative on it. I'm just like, we gotta have those answers, I guess. And I would say we'd have to maybe not have every single answer, like every answer, but when we do formally present this to the higher ups, that's going to be one of the first things they question and think about, and
Well, and they're gonna balk at us having an account outside of the school. They'll balk at it. I know they will. I've already asked. with that said, though, especially when we start talking about paying kids, and if we could deal in cash more than anything, that'd be the better way to do it, because then they don't have to worry about taxes or any of that other stuff. Because if we put the money into, let's say, my camp account, if I turned around and wanted to pay them, those guys would have to do their W-2s and whatever else, and they'd have to lose taxes and yada, yada, yada. So if somebody wanted to set up, or we could set up a committee of some sort with a treasurer and an account, just basically running a personal account, that'd be the best way to go. You could set it up as the academy, the Titan Academy Performance Deal or whatever, and don't run it as a business, though, because that's a whole nother thing about having to file for taxes. Like, it just needs to be somebody's personal account.
We have some. Don't we have some kids who work and get paid through the school? Like, they maybe like a kids who they used to have kids announce baseball games in the spring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, those kids would end up, they just fill out a W-2 through the school district and get paid through the school district, just like we do if we work an event, right?
Right.
I mean, would there be some benefit to just doing it that way? Like, we're not.
The benefit for us is less tracking, I guess, and the money's clean. I mean, it's easier to track. The downside for a kid is that if I'm going to pay him $10 an hour, he's only going to get $7.50 of that. He's going to work 2 hours a week. He's making $15 instead of 20. Whereas I'd rather just hand him $20 on Saturday or $40 on Saturday and be like, hey, here's your weekend money. And
let me ask this. We're going down the road of paying kids and all this stuff. On a given session, I don't know how many paying customers will be there, but how many coaches, how many adults do we imagine being there coaching? And then how many helpers and high school kids? I pictured it as a lot of adults and a lot of coaches. And if a couple high school kids could show up and help set up cones, I mean, whatever. I looked at it more as a voluntary thing. Again, if I'm a parent and Coach Clem's over there reading the paper and we got 7 high school kids running things, I'm not going to feel very good about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. I thought I'd kind of envisioned it more being coaches. I mean, it's about building relationships too. It's about being involved.
I envision just a handful of really trustworthy kids, not running sessions, but just being there, interacting with kids, coaching them up as well. I mean, I wasn't thinking a ton of students, but
I guess, would we need that? Do we not have enough adults that would just do it?
Well, my question would be, would it add value in something different? And if I was going to have kids, it wouldn't be open. Like, there'd be an application.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know our kids, and there's certain kids I'm not putting in a group.
right.
But if Dallas Rogers wanted to come and help, or a Will Swanson wanted to come and help, or an Emily Richards,
Mm-hmm.
like, I think those kids would add a ton of value, just because of who they are. Kids see them on the court. They think that's kind of cool, on the playing field. To me, it'd be a very select group of kids
Yes.
that we would ask. They'd have to get hired. You got to get hired.
And we can reward them some other – I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be monetary either. I mean, we can reward
Correct.
those kids.
I agree with you, Coach Clem. I would like to see some more adults, get them coached up. But there would be some kids that I could see being a really good asset and would add some things to that are pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess if I was a 5th grader and I grew up watching some of these high school kids compete, and I knew there was going to be 1 or 2 there helping me with some of this training, I'd be pretty excited as a 5th grader,
Mm-hmm.
as compared to a 40-year-old coach that I don't know. So
My 9-year-old sees Emily Richards, Lydia. She sees softball girls, Ryan or somebody like that. She automatically just attaches herself to them. And so you're going to get that from a lot of those kids. If they can see that they're doing this stuff too, they're the ones showing me how. I'm not saying to get a bunch from, like you said, you got to have the ones that they're qualified to do this basically. but if they're top end people, they can see, hey, I know who that is, and they'll be more willing to go. I want to be like them. And because she says that every day, I want to be like them. Well, there's your heroes right there. So they like to see them.
That's cool.
And maybe you don't even we get the select kids, handful of kids that would help, and maybe you don't pay them, but instead they can put it on their resume or their college application and things like that to,
Well, they need volunteer hours anyways for
yeah, I mean,
NHS and everything else.
That's true.
And as far as the account concerns, if you don't want to go that route, then honestly, I suppose we just set up another camp account, and we just turn everything in that way, and then that money is used for the academy or the weight room or rewards that we need to buy or whatever.
I think there would be wisdom in having something set up through the school, just from the standpoint of if this thing builds over time, the cleaner it can be and the more accountability that there's going to be some parent that's going to just wonder, what are they doing with this money? And it's a lot different if you're writing a check to Papillion La Vista South High School as opposed to
Coach H.
Not to mention the Monarchs are going to know it's clean. They'll be all over our ass.
Hey, as I just stated, Matty Hayes transferred. She all of a sudden has a La Vista address.
Having
Talk
gay.
about clean.
Peaches, go through them all.
Peaches, go through them all. Hell, his shortstops from Wahoo. I mean,
Having was from Bennington, wasn't she?
Yep. So next time they start talking about our weight room, I'm just going to start throwing out all their recruiting.
Better start writing a list, Coach.
Then I think paying coaches would be a lot easier if we just funnel it through their paycheck and stuff too. And we don't have to have somebody that's running a checkbook and accounting and all that stuff. So
Just submit their hours or whatever.
yeah, just like if they worked a basketball game or whatever. So, I mean, I know there's probably, I would not need to get paid. I'll come do this for free. I don't need the money. Not because I'm loaded. I just don't spend money. So I get paid well enough and I got my expenses, but for younger assistant coaches or other people that do, I mean, I would have no problem with them being compensated for their time. So
I'm telling you what, a few guys might know Matt McCanny. He was a 4-time state champion at Papio, and he was my my upper level club coach. And he, of course, when we started, nobody made money or anything like that. And it was apparent a few years after we got going that there were a lot of clubs that were paying their coaches, the top level coaches and things like that. So finally, Matt decided he needed to get paid. And I just lost him 2 years ago. Well, yeah, it's been 2 years. 2 years ago because he thought he wasn't getting paid enough, and now he's over at the Monarchs. So talk about recruiting, but he's over at the Monarchs helping them, and he started his own academy and things like that, which is great because he should. But that's exactly right. And he was one of those just like you saying, hey, I do this for nothing, blah blah blah. But then as soon as he got paid, it was a different story. So. And that's no commentary on you, Coach. I'm just saying, that's what it comes down to. We'd all be in that, same level. I would hope that we wouldn't have to get paid to do it. It'd be just cool to just show up and invest in kids. So anyway, it just reminded me of that story. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, my point too is I don't think everybody should have that mindset. If you're starting a young family and you're taking time away from them, I have no problem with those people, with people being compensated. That's okay. So that's, one of the perks. It'd be something nice to be able to, if you're trying to hire a coach, here's an opportunity to make some extra money as well, So, there could be a benefit to it as we're hiring assistants in different sports. So. All right. Any other thoughts for the day?
That's good stuff.
I mean, I'm still kind of in the mindset we don't do anything at the earliest until the beginning of 2021. I don't know where anybody else's thoughts are. I think it'd be hard to get anything planned for the fall just with the uncertainty that we're in right now. It'd be hard to get anything planned for this summer. But then we're probably in a situation where that Titan Performance Center is open, and hopefully we have a better sense of what's going on there. So anybody else have any thoughts on that timeline?
1st January sounds good. What kind of action plan do we need to start with here?
I'm just thinking the same thing. What was it, Coach H? Maybe a week and a half ago, Mr. Spilker was up at school, and Coach H and I was up at school, and we just verbally just gave him a 20-second overview, sort of preliminary discussions, and right away, he's got young kids this age. He's like, man, this is awesome, absolutely, and let's do it type of thing. So I think maybe obviously it'd be probably need to do a little bit more than that, just to make sure. Or more so they have a heads up, but this is exactly what we're doing. I don't know if you need a formal business plan, all that crap, but at least put something on paper on our objective, what we're trying to do, how where the money's going to go, how much we're thinking, just put it on paper to, and a lot of the times presenting it to those guys, it's not always just to, get patted on the head and gain permission. A lot of times those guys do have good ideas, and they might say, well, hey, here's something you didn't think about, either positive or negative. And so I'd be very surprised if they put a barrier up or anything, but I think something like that's the next step. Coach H,
go ahead.
I'm just saying, so out of all of us, you've been taking the most notes and putting stuff down, and I can help with that, or however you want.
That's what I was going to say. I've been taking notes and jotting down a lot of the things that have been thrown out. So I'll type something up, and then maybe in our meeting next Tuesday, I'll share that out ahead of time, and we can just kind of roll through what did I miss, what did I not capture that we talked about, just thoughts that we've had in that time frame. And then I agree with you, Coach Clemenger. I think we need to get it to kind of the higher ups in our school, and if anything, that way, once scheduling starts happening with the Titan Performance Center, this has been out there in the forefront, and we want to make this a priority, because it's something we all benefit from. So
put Mr. Johnson in charge of, give him something to do when he retires.
He's got to stay away from the school for 180 days. So
can't get paid. Can't get paid for 180 days.
You got to keep him away.
Oh no. Hey, I got some head coaches here, anyways. So I talked to Gearing the other day. This is flipping a page here, guys. About getting a sponsorship, and they're looking into a corporate sponsorship for us to do a male. Or not just male, sorry, but a weekly MVP per sport, per performance, whether it's practice or games or whatever, for us to. So it'll be like whatever he threw out high V. So like our high V MVP performance for me would have been whatever Nina Cuevas, 2 for 2 this week, yada yada yada. And they're going to get us a sponsorship to where we can give the kids a little something, whether it's like a $5 gift card, a $10 gift card, a new water bottle, whatever. I had originally, we kind of did this at my last high school. We did it just myself and another program, and we just did Gatorades and gave them out, and we paid for that out of our account. I was looking to make it bigger, so it'll be athletic department wide, so that we can recognize our kids and give them a little something, and not just our top performers. Our bench players, our managers, our whatever, so that we're constantly promoting not only our kids, but our programs and whatever else. I just wanted to give everybody a heads up that that's being talked about. And Mr. Gearing right now is the one that's looking for the sponsorship. Mr. Johnson's looking for that sponsorship.
You're saying one business for all sports, or a different business for each sport? I can't remember what you said.
Originally the idea was just to kind of get started was this is something that I was going to do program wise, and then we started talking and wanted to make it athletic department wise. They brought up Hy-Vee because apparently they're just such a big sponsor of ours anyways, and that their sponsorship literally could be like, 50 cases of Gatorade. And we're going to give a Gatorade to a kid at the end of, let's say this summer, at the end of our workouts that week, and be like, hey, here's our top performer for the week, why she is, hashtag, Hy-Vee, MVP, something, whatever, give them their props back for the sponsorship piece of it. But one way to reward our kids, but then put them out on social media and everything else. So
Cool.
Sounds good. I like it.
Hey, Coach.
Yep.
I was going to ask you a question. That Habitude site, is there do you have to have a subscription for that, or how does that work?
So those documents that I emailed out came from a book. So that website is just kind of like, they have a video series and stuff out now that you can use. And
I went on that site.
Yeah, or they have books that you can buy. So yeah, you'd have to have a subscription if you want to use the video, or you buy the video series, the curriculum.
Okay.
But what I shared was just right out of the books. So I know I'm breaking all kinds of copyright rules here, but I just scanned them in and sent them to you. So it was no big deal. So yeah. But
okay, cool.
But the books are pretty cheap. Like they're not very big. I think a book is like $12, and it'll have 15 to 20 habitudes in it.
Oh, okay.
And I think they might have 7 or 8 different books right now.
Gotcha.
So the series that those came out of, there's 4 books in a series that Coach Cooley and I use, and that kind of guides our Leadership Academy curriculum. So the first book is focused on leading yourself. The second book is connecting with others. The third book is leading others. And the fourth book is influencing culture. So we, like, each quarter, we focus on one of those books and pull habitudes out of those books to use.
So
like once a week in class.
Does that, would any of that be good for PGMs, or?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Cool.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Because they're pretty short, easy reads, and there's discussion questions there, and yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. So, all right.
Before we go, I want to hear from Coach G. How's he doing today?
Man, I'm just taking it all in. I'm doing well. Thanks for looking out for me, Coach Clem. I appreciate that.
You bet, man. Just give me a shout out.
Appreciate it. Just happy to be here.
It's a beautiful day out there. I might go enjoy it somehow.
Get out and enjoy it. It is beautiful.
Yeah, I did an easy 6 with Stanger. Well, you guys don't believe me?
Is that 6 meters? 6 feet?
Well, for me, yeah. About 6, 7 feet to the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Coach Clemenger, I did learn that you're a big Bulls fan, huh?
I don't know. Probably just as much as any kid in the mid '90s. I mean, yeah. Why was Cooley saying something? Or?
Cooley just said you were pretty excited for this documentary to come out.
Yeah. So. I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I definitely followed him just like every kid in the 1990s, and yeah, no, I was definitely enthralled. That's for sure. Had all the posters growing up and watched as much as I could. I was trying to think. Michael Jordan came to Omaha. It had to have been like, gosh, it was probably like 92, 93, right at almost the height. And he came, and it was at the Civic Auditorium, but it was for something else. He wasn't playing. He was dressed in a suit and loafers and stuff. I don't know if it was like if he came out at halftime of a Harlem Globetrotter game or a Omaha Racers game or something, and just he spoke to the crowd and then he left or something. But I remember me, my dad, my brother, and some of our neighbors, we went to that, and we were sitting way up at the top. But yeah, that was pretty special. I do remember that.
That's awesome. Well, I'm fired up for this next part when they talk about the bad boys, the Pistons, and could be interesting.
I love documentaries. I could watch just about any sort of well done documentary, but once you start getting sports involved, and especially something I lived through and I was a fan of, and I told Cooley that was the fastest. Honestly, that was the fastest 2 hours. I could not believe when the first one ended. I could not believe an hour had passed.
Yeah.
I was on the edge of my seat. It was awesome.
I think I could have sat
are they
and watched that
re-airing
for 10
it?
straight hours.
Absolutely. Without moving.
Coach OD, you can watch them. They are re-airing them on ESPN. I think they re-aired last night. I think they might re-air again. But you can also just, if you have a cable account, you just log on to ESPN and watch them at any time right now.
Yeah, so we don't. I'm gonna have to go on and get Sling or something. We don't have any cable right now, so
I signed up for YouTube TV just for this purpose. We don't have cable either. So I told my wife I'm getting a YouTube TV account because I am watching this documentary. She was all for it, so she sat down and watched all 2 hours with me. So.
And I swear I was putting one of the kids to bed, and I remembered it was on. It was about halfway through, so the first episode was about over. And for some reason, I was thinking it was on ABC, so I ran out, tuned in the rabbit ears, and nothing on ABC. I was like, shoot. So, hey, I was going to say I experienced a PGM yesterday, though. We were out working in the garage, and my 3-year-old was crawling around in both my wife and I's cars, and she turned on every dome light in both of them, and guess what was dead last night? Both vehicles. So I experienced a PGM yesterday. So that was fun.
Oh, that's funny.
So
That's funny.
Now you got a little write a little lesson up about that. Get some
That's
discussion
right.
questions we can use with kids. We're good to go.
perfect.
So, all right, gentlemen, we'll get outside, enjoy the beautiful weather, and we'll see y'all on Thursday.
All right.
So,
See you.
see you guys.
Yeah.